Hello, and welcome to the Jesus Podcast. You know what? And I have to double check just to make sure everything's going right. And you get to be the one who gets to see the process. All right. Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Hello, and welcome to the Jesus Podcast. It is I, Jesus from Whittier, via White Memorial Hospital in East LA, Boyle Heights to be exact. Things are going crazy. I feel that because our government is allowed to propagandize to us without repercussion due to, I forget the law. I'm sure somebody will find it, and I can't think of it right now. But basically what it was just a simple law saying that, because for many years, the United States, they probably still do it, would broadcast into Cuba. And it was brought to the attention back in, 2013, if I remember correctly, that United States citizens could pick up the propaganda broadcast as well, but so they're technically violating the law. So they, for that little radio station, they said it was okay. Well, when you apply the law to one thing, you have to apply it, equally across the board. So I think that is why we're finding a difficulty to believe what we're seeing in our eyes. I try to do the best I can to see two sides of an issue. I don't like to go out there half-cocked and just start blurting things out, though I am guilty of that. I'm not going to lie. Today's fit is brought to you by GoBoShow.show. Ticket fees suck. The hair brought to you by exercise. Exercise, it's what you need to keep you healthy. And we all think ticket fees suck. So there's that. And but I was at a Super Bowl party this past Sunday, and it got heated regarding what we've seen on television with ICE. And I can see it's a tragic that those people have died. Actually, 3 people have died now. I think one person, or like some kids got injured or something like that, or somebody got hit where like kids were protesting, somebody got hit by a car. I don't know. I just briefly saw the video, and it's been difficult for me to find it again. At the exact same time, when you're filming, observing, protesting, you're really not supposed to interfere with the police. Let's just take the biggest peaceful protester the world has, or at least in my lifetime that I can think of, the world has known, and that's Gandhi. I mean, Gandhi was able to evict the British government from India through massive peaceful protests. One example is the British government put a tax on salt. So Gandhi said to his people, "Let us go to the ocean and we will get our own salt." I don't know if he's, I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he, And, that man went to jail. Another one, Nelson Mandela in South Africa, in jail for many years fighting apartheid. And I feel like the amount of ICE officers that are out there doing these raids, going to these places, seeing these things, We're aware of 3 people who have, lost their lives in those situations. The gentleman the nurse who lost his life, I don't know his name, but the nurse who lost his life, I saw the video and I was shocked by what happened. And I think all those guys who are involved do need to see, go in front of a judge. And I know, here's the thing. If you're in a highly emotional situation, emotions are high, one person's yelling, and telling you this, another person's yelling you to do that. And the best thing anybody could honestly do is just extricate themselves from that situation. To not even get in there. Don't be involved. Stay far away. There's even like people in Minnesota right now, these groups are, writing down people's license plate and they're following people and saying they're part of ICE. When they're just reporters trying to, report on the situation that's happening there. And I think all of this is just kind of like one big, huge psyop, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I feel like there's something coming down the line where we're going to have a domestic terrorist situation where more of our freedom is going to be taken away from us. Right now, any one of us, like if you're interfering with ICE, you could be deemed, a domestic terrorist if you're interfering with official U.S. government actions. And then you don't get habeas corpus is out the window once you're named a domestic terrorist. And I do not want our government, I'm not happy with our government being able to label anybody they want as a domestic terrorist. At the exact same time, I think people are frustrated because there's nothing being done in this country to really solve the problems that are going on. Immigration, when Barack Obama had a supermajority with the Democratic Party, they had the presidency, they had the Senate, and they had the House. Yet, we didn't get free health care for all. College is still expensive. We did not solve the immigration issue. They did not pass a law, and that's what Congress does. That's all they do. That's their function, is to pass laws. They didn't pass a law during that time to make abortion legal across the United States, in all 50 states, without it, They didn't do it. They could have done it, and they didn't do it. And why is that? Because when you look at the voting history of Congress, and you look at what the people want our lawmakers to do, the lawmakers only do what the people want done about 30%. So that 30% of the laws passed are to help citizens of the United States. Okay? We can't. They want people to be emotional. They want people to be emotional. And it's only going to be a matter. We've already had an individual shoot up an ICE detention center. And by the way, the ICE agents were escorting people into the center. And I don't know if you've seen it on television, but ICE agents tend to have a lot of, body armor on. And the individuals they were escorting in there had no armor on. And it was only the migrants that were being deported that got injured during that fire. So he was there, that individual was there to make a statement in ICE, but ended up hurting innocents, injuring innocent, people who are just happen to be there by circumstance. So we can't get emotional about this. I was at a Super Bowl party, and I was truly ganged up upon, because my opinion is, if you want to come into this country, fine. I have no issue with anybody coming to this country, all right? But what people have to remember is we just had a 4-year period of mass migration, okay? It is what it is, And I'm sorry it's sad for me to say, is that a lot of taxpayer money went to go fund that mass migration through NGOs. And, cartels were making money, smugglers were making money. There are, at least 300,000 children that have come into this country, unaccompanied minors, and we don't know where they're at. A few days ago, 600 people were arrested for, human trafficking, sex trafficking. I'm sure minors were involved. But my point is, we have to reason these things out. We can't get emotional. We can't become vigilantes. Calmer heads must prevail. The vast majority of what you're seeing on TV has no effect on the average person's life, okay? I work in Los Angeles. I work with many, many people. I don't know what their, legal status is. I know one individual's legal status. And, he's not as upset or as worried about what's going on as the individuals who I was with at that Super Bowl party. These people are upset over what they're seeing on television. They're upset these people being killed. But, there are many innocent Americans who have, passed away because, just for example, California gave, CDL driver's license, Class C driver's license to people who couldn't even read English, who couldn't pass a truck driving exam. I saw, they're making U-turns, causing crashes, killing individuals, and, mass migration does not come with no consequences. And nobody talked about the deportations that were happening, from 2008 to 2016. Nobody talked about the 5 million or 3 to 5 million people we deported. Those people who were caught did not get trials. We built detention centers for them to house them. But now it's an issue. Now it's an issue. Now it's on TV. Now it's being sensationalized. Now there's these organizations going around following ICE. It's already a high pressure situation because, there's plenty of undocumented people who are being let go. Like, for example, the gentleman who stabbed that Ukrainian woman on the train. He was immediately let go after stabbing her because of some 2020 COVID law. That's somebody who should not be out on the streets if they're just going to be on a train and stab somebody for no reason. So you can't look at just what ICE is doing. You have to look at the big picture at all and what this could bring. Now, one of the largest private equity firms shut their new portfolio down from new investors, and it was highly invested in war and surveillance technology. God, see, it's hard to do this after running. we have to relax. We have to discuss this. We have to hold our leaders accountable, not the people out there trying to earn a living, trying to do what they think is right for this country. Those are not the ones we should be mad at. We should be mad at the people who are not taking care of the homeless problem within the state of California. We should be mad at the people who are not taking care of the immigration problem, because you have this entire shadow citizenship, or if you will, an entire shadow group of people who are in a gray area, and this has been a football that they enjoy kicking around because it's good for business, because it keeps you from being mad at them. And that's the truth. And until we start holding the people who are really in power, it's not the individuals out there going after people. It's not them. They're just trying to put food on the table and do what's right, and food on the table for their family and themselves. They're trying to make a living. You need to know if you don't know who your representative is in your city, in your county, in your state, if you can't name your federal representative or your state or the senator or your state senator, then you are part of the problem, because you're not exercising your right as an American citizen to hold these individuals accountable. You just see the D or the R and you vote. And I don't like our voting system anymore. I don't like the Dominion voting. I don't like that it's digital. I don't like that our voting system, that 80% of our voting system is owned by a private equity firm. That is not, because when a private equity firm has control over a system of election, you can't tell me that they're not going to want who they want to win. You know what I mean? There's room for corruption there. And I'm looking, just me in California, me in Los Angeles. We've spent $24 billion on, or probably 34 by now, on homelessness, and I have 10 cities all over Los Angeles, right? They bring rats, they bring disease, garbage washes out in the street. It's not good for the individuals out there, but we keep spending more money. We have a high-speed rail that doesn't have any track, and we spent $18 billion. We spent $600 million on a new 911 system, and it doesn't even work. We just scrapped it. So stop being mad at the people doing their job. Protest our government. Don't protest the individuals. I do this every so often. Anytime there's a running around, I just like give them the helicopter. Don't engage with people. Don't think of them as law enforcement. Just think of them as thugs with guns. All right? If a guy with a gun is asking me for my papers, I have no problem giving him my papers. Now that's just me, all right? We have a right as U.S. citizens under the Fourth Amendment to privacy and, I forget what the so. But I don't have to tell an officer who I am. I don't have to give him my driver's license. I don't have to comply with any of that. I can say I'm not discussing my day. Am I detained? Am I free to go? And if he still arrests me, well, then that's what our court system is for. All right? That is exactly what our court system is for. City of Los Angeles, a lot of we spent $300 million on, lawsuits last year for LAPD. Okay? So that's a lot of money. We can't throw bottles, rocks at law enforcement. We can protest what they're doing peacefully. but we should not, don't get involved. Stay back, record, report. Don't put yourself in a situation because you don't know how that person with the weapon is going to react to whatever you're doing. All right? You don't. Stay back, stay away, record, and I'm assuming most likely you will come out alive. Now, with all the ICE agents around this country doing stuff, we know of 3 individuals. So that's pretty low, right, for everything that's going on. At the exact same time, I don't think any of those situations had happened. I wasn't there. I wasn't on the ground. I wasn't making those decisions. And neither was anybody else. And when you're looking in on the decisions that are happening in a moment, you can't say that you would not react that way. I don't know what I would have done if I was that woman and I was getting 2 conflicting answers, right? I think I would just put my hands up and, ask someone for a clear direction. I don't know, right? What I do know is that aggravating the situation doesn't help anything. And I figure in both those incidences, there was escalation on both sides. And it's tragic. And every one of those individuals needs to be put on trial, without a doubt. But don't get mad at your fellow citizen because they see something that you don't. Because here's my opinion. I don't understand. This is honest truth. I don't understand why people are acting the way they are. I don't understand why there's groups in Minnesota writing down people's license plate, asking people, where they're at, and I don't understand it. Okay? So I don't understand why these individuals are doing that. I can't see it. I don't understand. That's just me. At the exact same time, I don't feel bad for anybody who's being deported. Anybody who comes to this country, if you're here, great, fine. I hope you prosper. But if you get caught, I don't feel bad because you're an adult and you made a decision and you chose to go the route that you did, and now it is what it is. Why are we arguing over this? There's nothing to argue over. You can argue over the tactics that are being used by the government, but don't be mad at the individuals who are just trying to do a job, make money. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I think that's what we need to think about, is that the people who go in, you got to remember that the vast majority of the individuals who are in ICE at this moment doing all these things, these were the guys who are, bounty hunters, didn't make it on the police force. These are not well-seasoned veteran individuals who are used to dealing with situations like that. Even if they were in the Army or have a military background, you're still in a situation where if you were in a military background, there would be no discussions. There would just be firing. And if you look at what other countries, like if I were to try and sneak into China, for example, how long do you think it would be and where do you think I would go? Right? Do you think I would be allowed to settle in there without any papers? Hell no. I'd be in jail and be considered a spy, right, for the U.S. government. So we're very lenient here, right? We allow people to come in. We allow people to prosper. But, if you get caught, you get caught. And there's a way to solve this. And it's through Congress. And so what every individual needs to do is, instead of stop yelling at the people at your party, go yell at your representative, go yell at your congressman, call them up on the phone. They have numbers. Each one of them has a social media. Get to them. Tell them. Call them up. Let them know who you are. Write letters. Write emails. I don't want to see us head down into some faux civil war where, then when you have, nationwide curfews, it becomes more totalitarian. And I think this is, what the powers that be, they want. They want a more totalitarian surveillance society, because that's how you keep a large population under control. And that's not good for anyone. And if we keep going down this road, that's exactly what we're going to have. So, yell at the people who are making the decisions. Yell at the people who are making the laws. Yell at the people, go protest at your senator's home office. Go protest at your representative's home office. Go there. Stand outside there. Make them accountable, because they're the ones who can fix it. They're the ones who represent you, and you're yelling at the lackeys who have no control over the laws they made. They're just trying to do what they're getting paid to do. And that's the truth. And if you disagree with me, that's fine. We're allowed disagreement. But when disagreement turns to, well, now we must violently destroy you, or you're a Nazi, or you're a racist, those are words that have meaning. And when you start labeling individuals like that, you'll get what we have in Gaza, right? And I don't want to see people in this country, I don't want to see individuals, that's what I'm looking for. I don't want a totalitarian government. I don't want a surveillance state. What I want is better government. I want functional government. And in my opinion, our government, from the local level all the way up to the federal level, is not working for the people of this country, legal or otherwise. And that's the truth. And that's what everybody should be mad about. All right. That's it for the Jesus Podcast. That is the Griffith Solar Observatory behind me. Goodbye from Koreatown. Cheers. And no matter what your religion is, no matter what you believe, no matter what your philosophy, I hope you get everything you deserve.